A story so heinous, a crime writer couldn't dream it up. An utter bloodbath.
This was a gruesome scene.
A single mom and her 2 young daughters, viciously attacked in the middle of the night.
I played dead, and he didn't buy it.
Did she leave clues behind in her very personal diary?
I'm only writing all this down in case something would happen to me. You would know who to look for, people I was with.
Was the name of the killer inside?
He described the pleasure he received plunging a knife into a person and watching the life go out of their eyes.
Was the person a friend, a former fling, a family member?
His rule of thumb is to leave no one alive as a witness.
Or could it have been a serial killer? It's a question for some that still remains unanswered.
My mom was this beautiful person. She was kind of people that others probably wouldn't have been kind to, but she felt that everybody deserved a chance.
In 1982, Melissa DeBoer was 7 years old. She lived in the Hyde Park neighborhood of St. Louis with her mom, Joanne Tate, and her 4-year-old half-sister, Renee. They didn't have much, but they had each other. Then one night in late April of that year, they wouldn't even have that.
What happened that afternoon, my mom took Renee and I over to Hyde Park. And I remember I had this feeling in my gut. As the evening wore on, I was scared. And I said, Mommy, something really bad is gonna happen. My mom said, no, honey, nothing bad's gonna happen. The last thing I remember was closing my eyes. Despite all my efforts, I did fall asleep.
Several hours later, Melissa was awakened not by her alarm clock for school, but by something far more sinister.
I just remember this commotion or noise. I remember sitting up. My mom was laying on the floor. I remember just like looking at that, not understanding. And then what was the oddest thing was there was a naked man.
Melissa said she couldn't comprehend what was happening, but she could see everything clearly.
He was very well lit because the door was open. And I knew immediately that I had met him. But why is he in my house? And I said, why is she on the floor? And he said, she's sleeping.
Did the voice sound familiar to you?
Yeah, and it was weird because he has a tone to his voice that's very unique. It was just very odd.
Things were about to get a lot worse.
He picked me up out of my bed, carried me into my mom's room, put me on her bed. He started taking my clothes off.
The naked man proceeded to sexually assault Melissa, and she fought back, biting him. Enraged, he threw her back on the bed, and that's when Melissa saw something shiny.
And I saw like this glint. It was like metal, but it was by his side. And that's when it started. He started stabbing me. I was putting my hands up and I was trying to fight him and I was screaming, no, stop, stop. What I didn't understand is how someone could be so mean and have no expression on their face.
The man continued to stab Melissa all over her small 7-year-old body. Going into survival mode, she pretended to play dead.
I waited and I tried not to move my chest because I knew he was watching me. And I felt the bed ease up. And I felt him leave the room. And I peeked around the corner and he was walking into the kitchen. And he was washing the blood off the knife.
Melissa wanted to get away, but she knew she couldn't leave her little sister behind.
I just remember like being so weak, but I knew I had to get under my sister's bed. And I got under her bed and I was real still and my dog came under there with me. And she was licking my wounds. But the worst thing was I could see my mom. She was like 4 feet from me and I could see her. And I couldn't help her. And then I saw his feet. And I was like, oh my God, he's gonna find me. And I see his feet and they walk around on my sister's side of the bed.
The man then attacked her 4-year-old sister, Renee.
And she's crying. And then I see blood on the floor. He slit her throat. And I was like, oh my God, why is nobody helping us? And the next thing I knew, I opened my eyes and I could see him. He was sitting at the end of my mom's bed, smoking cigarettes and watching TV. And he was just, so calm. He was waiting for us to die, all of us.
Melissa passed out, and when she woke, she went to her mom.
And I said, Mommy, please wake up. And I was shaking her and she wouldn't move. There was blood all over my entire body. Right before I fell asleep, I had looked around the room and there was blood everywhere. And I was just like, this is so unfair. My mom, she didn't deserve this. What do we do, you know?
Melissa woke a few hours later to knocking on the front door. It was her uncle and her mom's boyfriend. The next thing she knew, she and her sister were being rushed to the hospital. The cold-blooded reality was this: their mom, Joanne, was dead. She had been stabbed multiple times and sexually assaulted with an object. Young Melissa and her sister Renee were hanging on to life by a thread. Coming up, who was capable of committing this sadistic crime? A diary and a child's memory held the clues, and cops soon honed in on one suspect who wasn't a stranger.
Did you know for certain that that was the man that harmed you?
Oh my God, yes. I didn't want to look at him. I was afraid he'd get up and hurt me.